to another video. Today I will be reviewing the 1968 war movie Dark of the Sun. Now this movie stars Rod Taylor as an American mercenary called Bruce Curry. He is tasked by the president of Congo to rescue some European residents from this mining town in the Congolese jungle. Some information has got back to the president. He understands that the mining town is going to be attacked by a group of rebels in the next coming days. So the mercenary Bruce Curry is told all this information. He accepts the mission, but is also told that there is $50 million worth of diamonds located in a vault inside the town. And the Congolese president tells Curry if he can successfully bring back the diamonds, he can get a cut of the profits. The deal is made, and then Curry goes on to start recruiting a team for the mission. One of Curry's first recruits is Sergeant Rufo, played by Jim Brown. Curry tells Rufo about the operation, the rescue mission, but also lets him in on the recovery of the diamonds. So the two begin their mission using a steam train, heading into the jungle with a small team of Congolese soldiers. Over the years, we've seen many great films. The cinematography has been fantastic. With this film specifically, cinematography is, for its time, for a late 60s movie, I will say it's not bad at all. We get a load of establishing shots of the jungle and the steam train rolling through, but that's pretty cool to see. So I was already hooked on the premise of this film. The movie doesn't mess around when it comes to portraying Bruce Curry as this no-nonsense mercenary that is happy to go along and make deals with corrupt governments in exchange for money. But the film starts, and straight away we have the meeting with the president and Curry. I like the fact that we as an audience knew right away from the get-go where we stood. We know Curry is this hard-nosed mercenary soldier that is happily, will kill anyone for money. And so, there's no false pretenses. He's not necessarily a guy that you want to root for. Curry is no hero by any stretch of the imagination, but there are far more evil people in this film. One aspect of the film that I found interesting was the alcoholic doctor who was brought on the mission by Curry. Curry was fully aware that this mission potentially could be, fatal for everyone involved, and thought it would be best to obviously get a doctor just in case anyone was seriously injured. So this doctor is an alcoholic, and he basically needs whiskey throughout the day to keep him going. But early on in the mission, Curry ends up chucking away some whiskey off the steam train. Once the doctor finds out, he basically has a meltdown. And I felt bad for him, because I know the feeling, especially when, for someone like him that's, was dependent on alcohol, and as I said, he needed it to cope, to function properly. The doctor's feeling anxious, his palms are sweaty, he's like, I can't believe it, do you understand what you've done? How am I gonna cope? And Curry just disregards him and says you can't stay sober for a few days. Clearly Curry doesn't understand the extent of the doctor's alcoholism. With that said, I want to give credit to the filmmakers for introducing the theme of addiction into this war movie. Throughout many wars over time, alcohol has been used as a coping mechanism or a medicine for people that have been involved. With the doctor in this movie, he is a casualty of the previous wars he's been involved with, and so subsequently the doctor has resorted to using alcohol to cope. And once this aspect gets introduced into the film, you do wonder if the doctor will be able to handle himself in the subsequent days ahead. As the film continues, the crew run into several ambushes and many people are killed. One of the crew members that was brought onto the mission to help was a guy called Captain Henlin. Now, this guy is a real nasty piece of work. And over the course of days, Henlin finds out about the diamonds and the ulterior motive that Curry has to recover them. Henlin basically resorts to sabotaging the rescue any which way he can to obtain the diamonds. So the diamonds are rescued from the mining town. Some people from the town do get killed, but some people are also rescued. Curry and the remainder of the team end up running into the jungle and hiding. They make the decision that Curry needs to go and get help, so he does and leaves the remainder of the team behind. Now, with not actually that much build up, Henlin kills Rufo in an unprovoked attack, thinking that he has the diamonds. Rufo gets speared through the chest, with Henlin scurrying to find the bag of diamonds, but he never does. Once Henlin comes to the realization that he's just killed and murdered Rufo for no reason, he starts beginning to make his exit route. You know, I want to say I particularly liked the friendship between Bruce Curry, the mercenary, and Sergeant Rufo. Throughout the movie, we see them working together to try and complete the mission. We see how much Rufo meant to Curry once Rufo was murdered by Henlin. Once Curry came across the dead body of Rufo, you could see it in his face. Just this mad rage came out of Curry, and he immediately sought revenge on Henlin, which obviously wasn't the way to go. Two wrongs don't make a right. Curry eventually catches up with Henlin, and the two have this long drawn out kind of fight, ultimately resulting in Curry killing Henlin and avenging the death of his friend Rufo. It was kind of bittersweet because Curry and Rufo had a minor disagreement over the diamonds before Curry left to get help and Rufo was murdered. After Henlin is killed, the remainder of the team end up making their way out of the jungle. They end up stopping, and Curry comes to the conclusion that he must do the right thing, the noble thing, and hand himself in over the death of Henlin. So I guess, Curry was able to redeem himself at the end of the movie by doing the honourable thing and giving himself up. A noble decision to take by Curry, and one I think Rufo would have been proud of. As I said, two wrongs don't make a right. Just because someone murders your friend doesn't mean you can then go and murder them. And even though Curry was succumbed by the blind rage at that moment in time when he saw the dead body of his friend, he also realised he needed to do the right thing, and in doing so, as I said, make his friend proud. And throughout the movie, just thinking back, we have many conversations between Curry and Rufo, and as I said, Curry starts off as this no-nonsense mercenary, but over the course of the film, his character does start to soften, and his character is humanized. And I think that a lot of that was due to the conversations with Rufo and him just kind of convincing him to take the right path and not be so serious. One of the main things I took away from this film was just the fact that this movie is so violent, for a movie that came out in 1968. I was really taken back. No doubt this has to be the most violent movie of the 60s. This must have the most, some of the violence on screen, some of the murders that we see, borderline rape, attempted rape, children getting killed. It's quite a crazy sight to see, and I just couldn't believe that this movie was filmed back in the summer of 1967. Like, wow, man, this is, I have to say, just really, really, really surprised. A lot of people reference the 1969 George A. Romero movie, Night of the Living Dead. That's, a pioneering horror movie, and that movie over the years has been given lots of plaudits, and rightfully so. It is a great pioneering film. But when I think of Dark of the Sun, this movie came out a few years before, and this movie is way more horrifying than Night of the Living Dead. Just visually alone, as I said, some of the visuals that you see are quite shocking, and I can only imagine what it must have been like for an audience, in the cinema in the late 60s to be viewing this for the first time. I can imagine a lot of people be shocked, like, what the hell is that? Like, it is violent, it is ultra violent, and even today, this movie I think would warrant an R rating, not just because some of the racism and misogyny, but also said because of the violence. In terms of the battle scenes, there are some excessive, exploitative, violent shots that I just couldn't believe were in this movie. I was, wow. It's like it's a 60s movie, but then when it comes to the violence, it's like violence from slasher movies from the 80s. It's like, how is this movie not more highly regarded? Tell me why. I just doesn't make sense, because this film is pioneering. Dark of the Sun is pioneering for its raw, intense violence. As I said, I was just so surprised by some of the scenes that were in this film. And this movie, you want to talk about video nasties, you want to talk about the exploitation movies of the 70s. Hey man, Dark of the Sun was the original. I mean, to see some of there was one particular death that really got to me, where we saw a guy being held up against a wall. Then we see one of the rebels with a burning plank of wood ramming it into his face. And then the camera shows it. I was like, this is cannibal Holocaust level type violence. This came out in 1968. What the hell? This is the original horror movie. I mean, all due respect to Night of the Living Dead, bro, this is a horror. I know it's a war film and stuff, and I think that's the reason why it's different genre and stuff like that. But if you're talking about horror movie, horrific scenes, Dark of the Sun is the original. No doubt about it. There is some minor racism here and there, but it wasn't too overbearing, and the main characters didn't really engage in anything like that. And I did, overall find that quite refreshing. A 60s movie where you've got kind of the lead character and supporting character, a white male and a black male, going on a mission together, working together, and at the end of it, they were friends. They really were. It wasn't about. I can imagine, a film especially back in the 60s when this film came out, racism was a lot more prevalent back then than it is now. And once again, this movie is pioneering for showing race relations and showing kind of the positive outlooks of that. As I said, you've got two main characters, white male, black male. They work together. There's no racism between them. They don't really talk about race. They said there is racism in the film, but it's not involving these two main characters. As I said, that's quite refreshing. And once again, I'm thinking, why don't people talk about this movie more? Got to give a shout out to the locations used. Even though this was set in the Congolese jungle, the film was actually filmed in Jamaica on location in 1967. It's great to see with the jungle and the clear weather. It just makes the film very vibrant. The sun is shining through the lens, and it makes me think it must have been extremely difficult in terms of the hot conditions those actors are working in. So props to them for getting through that. So I watched this film and I did really enjoy it. Upon doing some research just to kind of get some background about the film, I unfortunately found out that all the actors have now passed away, with the most recent death being Jim Brown, who passed away in early 2023. So in terms of my dislikes for Dark of the Sun, I will have to say, I mentioned it before, but the elongated fight scene between Henlin and Curry at the end of the film, it just went on for far too long, and I thought the scene could have easily been edited down. I understand that having fights drawn out for over several minutes was kind of the standard thing back for old movies from that time period. It's a dislike. I don't want to criticize it too much, but yeah, just in terms of pacing, overall the film had a fairly decent pace, but the ending, that long drawn out fight scene, just could have, at that point I was just like, can we just get to the kill, please? Another dislike for me would be the character of Claire. Claire is one of the survivors that the team pick up along their way to the mining town. She's then seen over several scenes, kind of, just there in the background helping out, yada yada yada. But at the end of the film, there is this minor storyline that emerges where Claire and Bruce, they have this love interest thing going on. It didn't really go anywhere, but I don't. There was just a few scenes at the end where she was like acting as if she was his girlfriend or something, and it's like, he saved you, but you're just a survivor. And I don't know, it just seemed like the filmmakers were trying to put some sort of romantic subplot in the film. It didn't really work for me, but luckily it wasn't focused on too much. One final dislike I'll have to say is the continuity. Now, I want to give the film benefit of the doubt. It was made over 50 years ago. Editing was a lot different in terms of the software and technology they were using at that time to make the edit for the film in the first place. So yeah, and as we all know, continuity over the years in terms of film and TV shows has vastly improved. But yeah, it did take me out because there were just a few scenes where we get poorly edited shots, and there are definitely also some blending issues where the filmmakers have used night shots and daylight shots and tried to mix them as if they're just one long scene. We also had shots where the lighting didn't really match up and it was just a little bit off. So it's strange because this is a fairly big budget. I mean, it was shot on location. I mean, there are some great big set pieces in this movie. It definitely wasn't a cheap film, I don't think, to make. Yet the details, the small details in terms of the continuity, that's a shame that wasn't sharpened up. It seems like they hey, we're on location and let's just shoot this thing and don't really worry about the continuity too much. And yeah, it did take me out a little bit. So ratings for Dark of the Sun. It's pioneering. Gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10, a strong 6 out of 10, because it was very entertaining, great performances all around. Nothing Oscar worthy, but solid performances, no real bad acting, a nice pace with tension throughout, building up. Are the rebels coming here? Are we going to get ambushed while they're on this train? And as I said, the violence was just something else. Like, if you do like violent films, you'd be like, hang on, this movie came out 50 years ago. It's a 60s movie. Like, this is violent. Trust me, guys, this is a violent film. Not too violent, but it's not violent throughout completely, but we do have some serious violent kind of dark scenes, and that's hey, hence the title, Dark of the Sun. So yeah, if you guys not checked it out, please do. If you have checked it out, some of you may have, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I will be back soon with more reviews. Take care, guys.
Like, subscribe.